Evening, folks, or well, good afternoon. Welcome to Countdown to Kickoff. I was hoping to do this a little bit earlier in the day, of course, but got into Tallahassee probably not even probably less than 30 minutes ago, honestly. But nevertheless, as well too, I was kind of worried about having availability to do this, but then I realized like, oh, that's right, I got a hotel where FAMU was literally right down the road here from me, right behind me. So who knows? Maybe a post game recap tonight. Maybe. What's up, little baby 245? How are you doing this evening? Or not evening? Jeez. How are you doing this afternoon? And yes, hello all and welcome again. Countdown to kickoff. But yeah, I mean, hey, we may have a post game recap show because I mean, again, I'm maybe a football field's length away from FAMU's campus. So who knows? We might be able to discuss this game. I will say, however, if this game ends up being a blowout in favor of FAMU, I'm definitely not doing a post game recap because at that point it's like we've seen everything we need to see for the good. And going into a bye week, I don't think it'll be plausible to do that. But nevertheless, once again, as always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Of course, if you're new here, of course, hit the little bell, hit the subscribe button, get the likes up on all these videos and everything. Hope you guys enjoyed Tuesday night's episode, having Vaughn Wilson on there late, plus the little educational part we had with Tasha Bishop and Ashley, as far as buying up property and everything like that, and what to do with all that and everything. And I hope you also enjoyed Wednesday night's Run and Gun podcast as well too, with me and Ace and Mr. Sasser as well. Hopefully you come back and join us again next week. We'll have Allison on, Lord willing, and then also too this coming Tuesday night we'll have Pat Bonner on, me and Bishop as well. So with all that being said, of course, before we run it, obviously, little bit of things, a couple housekeeping things first. So a couple score updates around the country right now as it stands. So Wisconsin loses to Alabama today in Tuscaloosa, 38-14. The Tide rolls. Clemson falls. Didn't think they were all that. Florida State's going to kill them. Over to Georgia Tech in the last 5 seconds, 24-21. That went final earlier today as well. As well too, Pitt currently leads. Ooh, I need to change that. Pitt currently trails West Virginia 3-7 right now as they get ready to head into the half. I need to change that up right now. And then also too, as it stands right now as well, nothing's really changing, but it is a slugfest at the moment. Georgia down 21-14 against Tennessee. South Florida trails Miami 7-0 in the first quarter. And then, of course, still to come today in about an hour, you're going to have a kickoff between Florida Atlantic and FIU in the Shula Bowl. Arkansas and Ole Miss at 7 p.m. on the Grove. And then, of course, the one here tonight, FAMU and Albany State at 7. And then you have both at 7:30, Florida at LSU and Texas A&M at Notre Dame tonight. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get the intro rolling. Again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I know I'll put an update there on Twitter for you guys to get here or wherever y'all need to get to see this. But, yeah, get comfy, get cozy. If you're on your way to the stadium right now, make sure when you drive down the road here, just, give a honk right here. I'm not at the Hyatt House down that way. I'm here more at the Hampton Inn. But just, give a little honk if you're on your way. But, yeah, with that being said, let's do it. right. So, and obviously, the first home game, Perry Street's always the first question. I love it. Do I know if the Jamaican hibachi spot is up on Perry Street? I do not know. I am literally fresh year right off of I-10. I have no knowledge of that. I didn't know that actually, but so I'm glad you said that because that actually intrigues me now. If anybody else in the comment section or watching knows, by all means, let us know because I'm actually intrigued to try that now. I know there's a conch food truck that I absolutely find very, 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 very good. So, I mean, if he's here as well too, by all means, I am definitely going to go check it out. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and get started. So, what did Colzie have to say to his media in a September 8th interview his coach's call Monday? So basically said Saturday was not the standard. We normally rise to the occasion in games like this. Offensively, it's taken us too long to get into a rhythm. Defensively, from game 1 to game 2, the numbers aren't what they needed to be. And he said that also boils down to tackling and being assignment sound, which is a lost art in this generation, sadly. RJ Johnson, 18 of 22, 228 yards, 2 TDs. He said the numbers are good, and a lot of that was in the second half, which, quite frankly, again, you saw good things in the second half, but at the same time, too, when you look at it, how you kind of have to ask yourself, how much of it was garbage time? How much of it was against a vanilla defense, and again, maybe even if the starters are in, how much of that is just, Florida Atlantic's defensive coordinator going much more on the softer side of coverage and everything and laxing up a bit, trying to keep his guys healthy for their game, which is a big one tonight in the Shula Bowl against Florida International and Willie Simmons. As well, too, RJ wasn't seeing what we wanted to see, so we made a switch. So that's another thing, too. But the switch was only made for 2 series, which, again, it makes you wonder at that point, you're already down a huge deficit. So what good does that do to Jet Petty as well? So I will say, while I do think RJ will start tonight, I do feel like Jet was put in a very hard spot in a very hard situation, which explains the 1 for 7. At that point, your morals already killed. So, let's see. We got a comment here. Ironically, I think we got the second best QB in the conference. Yeah, and funny you say that. Coming into the week, RJ Johnson actually only trails Andrew Body for passing yards in the SWAC, which I believe he's at 405. I think Andrew Body's at 525. I believe it was last time I checked. And again, it boils down to the fact of, I think all of us in Orange and Green were very tough graders, which rightfully so. We expect greatness at the quarterback spot. We've seen it for years, probably since the beginning of this football program, dating back to pre-World War II. And quite honestly, you never know. It may not be, once we get into conference play, we may not be as bad as we feel like we are. Or maybe this team cuts it on and finds a rhythm tonight. But again, if we're second best in the SWAC right now as far as passing yards, I'd like us to be a tier above to where no other quarterback can touch us, truthfully. And again, I don't think that QB job's been won yet by any single individual. I do think we're going to see both tonight. At what point? Who knows? But if one starts slinging it all over the yard and looks better than the other coming out of this game, that's the guy you roll with going into the Alabama A&M or Alabama State game. I think the lights come on tonight. I think playing. Yeah, no, I agree. Because it kind of, I think back to the last 2 times where we've been in this situation before. I think back to 2021 where, people were clamoring for Junior Muratovich to start after the Jackson State game. Put him in, the lights were too bright for him. Brought Rashawn McKay back in. He proved he's your starter for the rest of the season. 2022, 2022 is kind of like UNC game. Musa looked immaculate for what the situation that was presented, and you just couldn't take him out. You couldn't. So again, we're going to see who steps up to the challenge tonight, and who is not ready for that spotlight tonight. I have to reword that. But yeah, who's not ready for that spotlight tonight? Because you're going against a team that's very anxious to play against you this evening. Let's see what else we got here. He did say, well, again, and alluding back to seeing both QBs tonight, he said we need to get both guys the looks we need to see, so we can shore up on the position. So I put a star next to that, actually, in him saying we still don't have a quarterback one. So again, you're going to see what I think is the final stage of this QB battle tonight. He also alluded to this within tackling. Ooh, George is about to score. He also alluded to this with tackling as well, too. You know, he said you can't be full pads back-to-back days anymore. So essentially he said you can't work on tackling like you could 15 to 20 years ago, which, again, I hate defensively because it is a lost art. Because you look around the landscape, tackling is so poor. Even in preseason football in the NFL, it's so bad. Certain parts of even the SEC, tackling is so poor. And, you know, somehow, some way, I feel like you have to find a way to incorporate that and pound it into these guys' heads of why tackling is so important. Gang tackling, bringing your arms, not just reaching and seeing what you hit at all times. But again, it alludes back to what he said, and I do believe it is true because it's even true in high school football. You know, tackling's limited now. Now, I mentioned Tuesday night with Bishop and Vaughn and with Ashley and Tache. The thing that University of Georgia does is called Bloody Tuesday, where they're all out, full energy. They're setting the tone for the week, full pads. They're always tackling. Now, are we doing something like that? Are we? I get it. You want to keep guys healthy, but at the same time, too, you got to get hit. You have to tackle them at some point. Something has to give in that aspect. Yeah, no, and this is very true. This is very true. It's a lot. I got you. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, you have to. It's like Colzie said. You know, it's about want to. You have to want to make the play. You know, like, so again, you need to. And I was always taught this because that was always my intentions. When you do tackle somebody, you have to tackle someone you're trying to hurt them. Again, it's like Shannon Sharp said. If you saw that 2000 Ravens documentary on that 30 for 30 on the Bullies of Baltimore, he said it's football. You know, things may break, things may snap, things may get torn. That is a part of the game. So, you know, this game is not for the faint of heart. It's not. This is one of those. This sport, along with boxing, is one of those sports where, you know, you're legally allowed to impose your will on another man for 60 minutes, and you cannot go to jail for it. So, again, it's about want to. It's about want to. I know what you mean, little baby 245. Let's see. He also said against Howard, we got hats to the football. Against FAU, we didn't. That was very evident. He also stated Albany State is catching a team that's trying to figure out how to win. That's true too. We need to play with better confidence in all three phases of the game. There are things we need to shore up, and if we don't, it'll be really close, and they could mess around and win. Which, by the way, that little snippet, that little bit right there where he says there are things we need to shore up, and if we don't, it'll get really, really close, and they could mess around and win. That's at the 55-40 mark of the coach's call on YouTube, if y'all want to check that out, if y'all don't believe me. Also, too, he said there are some things that they feel like they could take advantage of with Albany State, so we'll see today. Also, too, if y'all forgot, today's game is also a tribute to Jake Gaither as well. So if you are in the house tonight, I believe, you know, they're going to pay tribute to Jake Gaither. I believe there's going to be some Jake Gaither players here tonight in some way, shape, or form. Wow. Definitely in Tallahassee. All right, so first things first, for Albany State, last game, Kentucky State, they won 49-21. Quinn Gray returns to Tallahassee. He's 14-9 in his time at Albany State so far. Back-to-back 6-win seasons. He has a high-flying offense that has the potential to score 45 plus, but again, that's been against Division II teams. We'll find out today. That FAMU defense is going to be tested. That transfer that they have from Navy, Isaiah Knowles, pretty good. They shut out Kentucky State in the second half, 6 TD passes through the air. Knowles was only sacked twice by that Kentucky State defense, and they have a consistent rushing attack. The offense, I didn't notice, and again, it was hard to find video of those two games, but I couldn't. The offense goes as Isaiah Knowles goes. So what is going to be the theme of today? Stop the quarterback. Defensively, you control this game. Defense gave up 308 yards of total offense, 224 yards passing, 84 yards rushing. So, again, there are things, like Colzie mentioned, that you can take advantage of tonight with Albany State, specifically through the air. And the beautiful thing is you had guys that stepped up in that Florida Atlantic game and guys that need to step up from that Florida Atlantic game that I do feel like you can have success with. 4 different Rams wide receivers scored TDs last week, 6 of 7 in the red zone. 9 penalties for 75 yards. So, again, listening to or seeing what Quinn Gray said coming into this one, he did say they have to be more disciplined. Bingo. Stop the ultimate weapon. You'll win the game. Let's see, 11 of 16 on third down. I've been saying that for weeks, and you're going to see once we go to FAMU side and talk about this, why it's so critical to win third down. Because when you're 11 of 16 to third down, you're in good company. But the other side of it, I'll show you here in a few. Now, the other thing, too, that I did notice and I took away from it was, I know and I get it, some people, you have your frustrations with Colzie. I get it. It's only been 2 weeks. And well, plus last season, if you factor in last season. I'm not worried about last season right now. I'm worried about today. I get it. It's been 2 weeks. Some people out there are treating tonight as Quinn Gray's unofficial job interview. That's the way some people are putting it. Because if you go back to 2018, when FAMU fired, or no, 2017, around Christmas time, FAMU fires Alex Wood. Everybody's pointing to Quinn Gray saying, oh, lead us. This is the guy. Maybe it's your time. He specifically said, I'm not ready yet. I don't want this job yet. He was coaching at Lincoln High School. And now, factoring all these years later, FAMU wins the Celebration Bowl. Willie Simmons has all this success. And all of a sudden, Willie's leaving now to go, or he leaves to go to Duke for a year. Now he's at Florida International. Who interviewed for that job? Quinn Gray. Colzie gets the job. I can guarantee you, he's coming in here tonight. He wants to make a statement and a good audition. He wants to. Because he feels like, you know what? If things don't work out this year for them, I'm going to buy my house back in Tallahassee. That's what he's thinking. A lot of hyperbolic talk. We aren't at the end of the season, and we have a lot of new pieces. Exactly. And that's the same thing that, Vaughn Wilson said Monday night. I mean, not Monday night. That's the same thing he said Tuesday night as well, too. I think a lot of people, don't like the fact that, Colzie went to Florida State right across the tracks there. And I think some people don't want to acknowledge that fact, and they use it against him, I feel like. To say, he's not qualified to lead FAMU, and somebody who's going to lead FAMU should be homegrown, which, I mean, the only head coach that was homegrown from FAMU was Ken Riley and Earl Holmes. And we know how the Earl Holmes experiment ended. And, I mean, yes, Ken Riley is a Pro Football Hall of Famer and won some MEAC titles here. But, again, just because you're FAMU homegrown and stuff like that, that does not mean you're fit or you're qualified. It doesn't. You think Nick Saban was born and built through and through Tuscaloosa from Alabama? No. Bear Bryant wasn't either. No. Jay Gaither wasn't from Florida. He was from Knoxville, Tennessee, I believe. I know he's from Tennessee. Rudy Hubbard wasn't even from Florida, from FAMU. Rudy Hubbard played at Ohio State. Come on. Willie Simmons played at Clemson. Like, come on. I get it. I know. Yes, you want to see Quinn Gray have a good job, have success and everything, but quite frankly, I wish Quinn Gray the best. Just not tonight. Just not tonight. All right. Oh, I remember them too. He always kept good linebackers, but outside of that, oh my gosh. He couldn't keep a quality quarterback to save his life. I know. I remember it. And then getting fired the week of the homecoming game, which, I mean, it was warranted, but no. All right, so as far as players to watch goes for Albany State tonight, Isaiah Knowles, 25 of 34, 304 yards, 6 TDs, 1 interception last week. 13 carries for 107 yards, 1 TD, 6.8 yards per carry in that game last week. He was their leading passer and their leading rusher. Their next leading rusher was Tiant Weish, who had 10 carries for 36 yards. The leading wide receivers, JV and Jackson, 6 receptions, 76 yards, 1 TD. And then you had Xavier Herndon, 5 receptions, 44 yards, and 2 TDs. On defense, Luke Rose led the team in tackles, 6 total tackles, 1 interception. Andrew Ruffin, 5 total tackles, half a tackle for loss, and half a sack. So, before we go into FAMU, what would a win do for Quinn Gray today? Quite frankly, to be real with you, it would unequivocally boost him possibly getting hired here in the future. It would. Especially if he can come in here and rack up points. But I don't think he will. I think this FAMU defense is better and farther ahead than the offense and will face far inferior competition than what they saw last week, quite frankly, because let's be real, I don't think there isn't I don't care who you name in the SWAC. I don't care who it is. There is not a single offense that runs an air raid or is that fluid and that consistent like Florida Atlantic was. I don't care who you name. It doesn't matter. And quite frankly, I don't think Albany State is going to roll out and have the same success that Florida Atlantic had. Florida Atlantic is a team that I do think is a lot better. Their head coach comes from that Cliff Kingsbury, type style of offense. And you're not going to get that in HBCU football. You're not. Also, too, how do they go about attacking FAMU's defense? If you're Albany State tonight, I'm going to try to get creative. Again, not an air raid style, but Quinn Gray likes to spread the ball out. He, played for Billy Joe, so he knows how to do that. And I'm going to try to keep FAMU's defense off balance. I'm going to try to beat them short and then get them to bite a couple times short, and then I'm going to try to take them long. Simply put. And then in certain moments in the game, I'm going to try to gash FAMU's defense. I'm going to try to fatigue them. But, again, I don't think this defense will suffer much of fatigue. I think they'll be fine. Let's see. What will the approach be to confusing RJ Johnson? So tonight, because I do think he starts, I think they're going to try to do the same thing that Florida Atlantic did, do the same thing that Howard did. I think they're going to try to load the box, quite frankly. I think they'll load the box, try to confuse him, try to throw a couple blitz packages at him, and rattle his feathers. Let's see. Why is it so important to play disciplined football? If you're Albany State, you look at it, 9 penalties, 75 yards last week. And, again, like I said earlier, Quinn Gray alluded to that, saying that they have to play disciplined football, and that is what's going to help them win this type of game because they know what they're facing. Let's see. Also, why is a fast start so important? Again, If you start fast, because we've seen this FAMU offense or this FAMU team start slow, that is what I think Albany State can take advantage of. Now, again, it's up to FAMU's defense to start just as fast. And I'm glad you said that. I'm very glad you said that because honestly, there's a way to combat that. Because when you go out in warm-ups right away, you should, if you're a quarterback, both quarterbacks or all 5 of the quarterbacks that were brought in, to be honest with you, identify where the play clock is before when you're warming up, and then again before you take a snap. If you're driving, tonight, for instance, if you're driving towards the field house, know where the play clock is. If you're driving towards north end zone, know where the play clock is. Know how many timeouts you have. And I think that part of it comes with being a veteran quarterback. Mind you, RJ Johnson is not a veteran quarterback. 2 games under his belt at the college level, he's not where he started, not a veteran yet. Nope. Because a veteran knows where to identify the play clock, knowing the sticks, knowing the down and distance, and is able to make the adjustments. And has a better command of the offense. That's where RJ Johnson gets in trouble because he doesn't know to do that yet, which you should, quite honestly. At least I would. But again, everybody's mind is somewhere doing something. Maybe it's his welcome to college moment. Who knows? But I am glad you said that. All right, so for FAMU, last game, Florida Atlantic obviously lost 14-56. Oh, wow. Failed to score TD in the first half. Suffered 1 punt block as a result of poor punt protection. And again, I think Colzie said that the punt formation or, the punt block and the protection has been fixed. Again, we'll see tonight. RJ Johnson, as Little Baby mentioned, currently second in the SWAC in passing yards. He hasn't turned the ball over through 2 games, so he's played it clean so far. Just needs to, again, as stated, clean up with the delay game, quite honestly. I'm not so much worried about Jet having that problem because I feel like, again, him being much more savvy and having played college snaps, though the fact that it was JUCO, I think that he understands. As well, too, Dad Franklin, as Vaughn Wilson had mentioned on Tuesday night, he has been nursing a turf toe injury. So, again, I think they said he was overcoming that tonight, or he was overcoming it throughout the week, and he'll be ready to go tonight. As well, too, defense didn't play to the standard, as Colzie mentioned. They allowed 193 yards rushing. They allowed 360 yards passing as well, too. Consistent kicking game. So, when in doubt, we're always automatic for 3 points. 6 costly penalties for 52 yards. FAU had 2 for 15. Although, granted, there was a holding call on Brian Norris that I think that the refs missed against Florida Atlantic. So it is what it is. The game was already out of hand, but still, you got to make that call. As well, too, and I alluded to this, winning third down. Yeah, so again, I alluded to this with third down. Notice Albany State last week, 11 of 16 on third down. What was FAMU on third down? 5 of 16. 11 of 16 versus 5 out of 16. You have to win third down. And I said it last week after the game, and I said it last week or Tuesday, winning third down. You want to be a 10 or 11 out of 16. That's a good number, or really, heck, 12 or 13 out of 16 on third down, which shows you're really doing good. So, yes, winning third down is so evident. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, the one where I forget who laid into him, but it was like a big hit. It was a clean hit, too, that was fumbled and then recovered in the end zone. That was, I thought, a drop because he didn't have possession of the ball. right away. That should have just been ruled incomplete, I feel like. But yeah, I know, those are two TDs that they gave the Florida Atlantic, I feel like. And again, you can't do much about it when it's an AAC, an American conference crew. I mean, it's home cooking. That's what's gonna happen. So who knows? I mean, hey, maybe the SWAC refs will be in our favor tonight. Who knows? But at the same time, too, you need to just go ahead and just plain and simple beat the shit out of somebody, and then don't even leave it up to the officials. Okay, let's see. So RJ Johnson, as I alluded to earlier, 18 of 22, 222 yards, 2 TDs last week. Again, second in the conference in passing yards. As much as we complain, he's still, again, statistically doing pretty good. Thad Franklin, again, nursing turf toe, 11 carries, 58 yards. He was your lead rusher, so which is actually incredible. 11 carries, half 100 yards with turf toe. Things you like to see. Bo Somerset, 9 carries, 37 yards. Jordan Edwards, who stepped up and I feel like is a reliable target, improved his worth. 2 receptions, 72 yards, 1 TD. He is somebody that I feel like is a dependable wide receiver going forward in this offense. Him and also, I believe it was Jamar Taylor, number 13. Both of them proved their worth scoring late TDs in this game that I both liked. I do personally, I'd like to see Kanari Wilcher get involved more in the game plan, honestly. I would love to see, Jalen Rogers get more involved. One catch ain't going to do it. And Bishop Bonnet alluded to it Tuesday night. If you're going to wear number 1, you got to show you're number 1. So it's time. It's time now for me. If not now, when? This is the best game to get your confidence up. I know, granted, it's a D2 team. You should respect them. But, man, it's time to step up. You have a wide receiver room that right now, certain people are trying to peek through the crevices and stuff and trying to make plays. And I commend Jordan Edwards for doing that. I commend Jamar Taylor for doing that. Those are 2 guys that I do feel like you can depend on, and I would go back to them tonight. I hope. I feel like, trying to get him involved in the passing game or in some type of way, shape, or form. I do think that he can do damage. I hope so, though. Again, I feel like he's a home run hitter from anywhere on the field. So I think if you can get him in open space, he's got a chance. Also, too, your lead tackler from last week, and I do expect him to continue to get better every week. If there's anybody that took advantage of said money game and where pro scouts are watching and they want to see this type of game or that type of game, it was Jason Riles, 11 tackles. 11 total tackles. That is somebody that I think is on defense. I always used to allude to Isaiah Major being an alpha. Jason Riles Jr. may be developing into being that alpha. Making plays, backing it up consistently. I saw one time where he got matched up against Florida Atlantic's fastest wide receiver, still kept pace, and then to still fly around the field and make 11 tackles in a blowout loss. All they want is your effort, man. All they want is your effort. I want to see our wide receivers open up. Yeah, no, I do too. I'd like to see our wide receivers start to win their one-on-ones against these, these defensive backs. And quite honestly, again, if Albany State's going to load the box, which I'm pretty sure they will, the last 2 weeks teams have been doing that until RJ Johnson proves he can beat it and not do it in garbage time. You're going to get one-on-one coverage on the outside. So somebody's going to have to win their one-on-ones, which I will say these guys have been. They have been. Now, with that being said, I know they're winning their one-on-ones. Whoever's at quarterback has to deliver it. So, because I remember specifically Thad Franklin open twice, Orange Blossom Classic. Kanari Wilcher, post route, wide open. just wasn't hit. So these wide receivers are winning their one-on-ones against specific opponents. It's a matter of the quarterback stepping up and making the throw. I hope they get Albany State out early so I can get a nap and be fresh for the fight. Oh, yeah, that's right. There is a fight tonight as well. Oh, my goodness. I forgot about that. Yeah, I would like to see them just, go ahead and wrap it up so that way I can just, check in on the fight, check in on, continue to check in on the Georgia-Tennessee game, can check on Florida LSU score and everything, because quite honestly, I'd love to see them wrap this up early. Don't make this any harder than it needs to be. You got to truthfully come out pissed off and just, hit anything that moves with controlled aggression, quite honestly. So before we get into keys to victory here, how do you avoid going 0-3? Because quite frankly, if you fall to 0-3 tonight, it's gonna get bad really quick. And that after that bye week, it does not get easier. The leading passer is coming in here, and then you got to go play Mississippi Valley and Atlanta, which it doesn't get easier. So I do feel like you can't afford to go to 0-3. You have to come out with a sense of urgency. And if I'm Colzie, I'm sure he's heard it all already. Again, Quinn Gray wants your job. You need to go make a statement tonight and make an example out of him. Yeah, I would like to see that too. I've never watched that one as closely as I would like to, but Tasha alluded to it Tuesday night with us. Like the fact that Florida Atlantic's 18-2 over Florida International. So I mean, if Willie can pull it off tonight, I think he'll be a hero down in South Florida. Let's see where else we got. What will this week teach us, much like last week? Quite honestly, the want to. Last week, the want to was explained by Colzie, but in a negative manner. I think you're going to see the want to tonight in a good way. It's like wanting to make tackles, wanting to make those tough, difficult catches. How creative will Colzie and Kenwick Thompson be with their blitz packages? Once again, I said this last week. I'm going to say it again this week. You need to be very creative. We saw it in bits and pieces, Orange Blossom Classic. We saw it in the Alabama A&M game. We didn't see it in Florida Classic last year, but the last two games to end 2024 and the first game of 2025, we saw a little bit of it. I think this week teaches us about. Yeah, I think so too. That's definitely one of them. I think we'll see the offense's potential tonight. God, I hope we see it tonight as well too. Let's see where we at. Why is it vital to establish a running game? Quite frankly, I have alluded back to what Kylan said. Where's it at? You establish your running game, this guy will be offensive MVP tonight, quite frankly. If you do. If you establish your running game offensively and we learn about the offense's potential, I think Jamal Haley will have a field day tonight. I think that Franklin and Bo Somerset all can go crazy tonight. Which playmakers are going to step up? Quite frankly, I'm looking right at Jordan Edwards. That's the main one. Him, Jamal Haley, Thad Franklin, and whoever takes advantage of that quarterback situation. If R.J. Johnson goes in there and shows he's struggling and can't make reads, Jet Petty needs to come in. Because, again, yes, he went 1 of 7. He had a bad showing against Florida Atlantic, which, quite frankly, to be real with you, everyone did. Jason Rouse, in my opinion, had probably the best game. When it wasn't out of hand in garbage time stats. But, again, I do think if R.J. Johnson struggles early and is not making the right reads or is making mistakes and is missing wide open guys, then I do think Jet Petty needs to come in. And at that point, may the best man win. Whoever's the most consistent guy needs to start the rest of the way, especially coming out of that bye week. And the last one is, where's the want to? Honestly, I think about what Kevin Elliott said last week. I think about what Colzie said in his presser. I do feel like, there's a sense of, there needs to be a sense of wanting to make tackles, wanting to make the throw to the wide open guy, wanting to make the tough catches, wanting to set the tone early. Kevin Elliott mentioned, most of the starters, they've played special teams. There needs to be a sense of want to set the tone. If you want to, just simply want to, you can break somebody else's will just off of that. I don't think so either. A lot of people, talked about it in the heat of battle. You're kind of like, oh my gosh, you're all in your emotions. But when you kind of sit back a week later and look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, like he really just didn't get a fair shot. 2 series, the team's already down 34. He's doing the best he can, but he's coming in, he's high energy, but the rest of the guys that have been out there and been getting smacked around, they're where you don't know where their mindset is, quite frankly, and he's trying to pick everybody up. So it's like, what do? You can only do but so much. And then you throw him in at garbage time when the game's already basically over, and you're asking him to just, go out there and just run the offense. Just, execute something good before we get out of here and get back on the bus and go back home. The check's already cleared, and we've already scored our 2 touchdowns. You can't really put him in a tough spot like that. That's not fair. So I do think you're going to see him tonight. That 1 of 7 on 39 yards. Exactly. Like you have to. When you get down by so much, and you see it all the time. I always allude to it like this, unless it's, again, Patrick Mahomes when he was a younger quarterback. If a quarterback's throwing, and this is, I'm trying to use the same analogy. If a quarterback is throwing 50 times, it's because he's in a hole. It's either he's in a hole or he's in a shootout. And for the 2 series that Jet got, for him to be 1 of 7, he's in a large hole. And again, everybody's morals are just destroyed at that point. On my way to the game, did you see nobody wanted to bet? I haven't seen anybody that wanted to yet. I have not. The thing is, if anybody's willing to bet that right now, you're crazy. You're crazy, quite frankly. There's no way. For the same reason nobody wants to bet on this game tonight and bet in favor of Albany State is the same reason why I didn't put in my parlay Georgia Tech versus Clemson, because of what I saw happen on the way here in that game. There's no way. That's why nobody bet an eyebrow yet, Troy. Or not yet, but nobody's going to. The offense needs to be clicking first quarter. It does. And depending on which quarterback it's clicking with, that's who needs to stay in. Just quarters or halves. Someone else mentioned that too. I want to say yes, but I also want to say no. I do, because here's the thing with that. Willie Simmons, going back to 2022 UNC game, Willie Simmons, and this is also a tribute and speaks truth to the teammate that Rashawn McKay was too. Willie Simmons going into that game said both Rashawn McKay and Jeremy Musa would see time. They would both see play time. And quite honestly, you never saw Rashawn McKay because Musa played so well. So if one quarterback starts just playing well and just lights it up, you may not see the other one, quite frankly. Or, again, we might get a situation where, one starts, one stinks it up, the other one has to come in. So, I mean, I agree, but I also disagree with that. Now, if this game gets out of hand and it's like 50 points in favor of FAMU, you're going to see both. Heck, you may see 3, depending on who's the third guy that dresses. Yes, we do. We definitely need a fast start. Again, it goes back to the want to start fast, want to break another man's will, want to make those tough catches, the want to, just the simple want to. And with that, I give you my key to victory. I only have one today because everything else, I think if you just do this one thing, everything else falls in place. Want to. Oh, no. Well, I guess that's the grammatically accurate way. Either it's want to or, yeah, it's want to, I guess. We'll just roll with it. There will be some snowflake that will correct me in the comment section. Yeah, now that's the other thing that also worries me. I don't know. A man can dream, though. I'm just throwing things out there. If it gets out of, I'm just throwing things out there. If it gets out of hand, we'll see 3, but I don't think it will get that much out of hand tonight. I do think Albany State's going to come in here and they're going to be motivated. Quinn Gray's going to have those guys motivated. All right, so, and with that, go ahead and drop your score predictions because that's all I got today. We got a score update. So, Georgia 17, Tennessee 21 at the start of the second half. Okay. But yeah, with that, I got my score prediction for tonight. I'm going to go FAMU 31, Albany State 20. All right, so let's see if this one sticks. First, Orange Blossom Classic, I said Howard would score 10 points, so I guess I was right. I just wasn't right on the fact that FAMU not bringing their offense to Miami. So we'll see if the offense is in Tallahassee tonight. Oh, my gosh. Oh. I agree with the 27-17. If this happens, boy. Kudos to the defense, but man, I might force my way into that media presser if this happens. But I do think that this is realistic, honestly. I mean, look, we have Musin, Xavier Smith, and Jamar Shareed, and we beat this team by 10 points back in 2022. It wouldn't shock me if FAMU wins this game by 10 points again. Hitman, I think we're about in the same neighborhood, honestly. 31-20, 35-21. I could live with it. I'll be happy. If we put that up, I'm changing my team. It may have to be a post-game show if that ends up being the final score, 7-6. But yeah, I do like the 35-21, quite honestly. But yeah, that's what I'm sticking with tonight. 31-20. I think we do win. I think we'll see more of Jet tonight, honestly. That's what I'm going to give as my bold prediction since I didn't give 2 more keys to victory. But with that being said, that's all I've got for y'all today. Depending on how soon I get back here, maybe there's a post-game recap. Maybe. Again, if not, then, we'll be back doing this again after the bye week, probably in the same place for the Alabama State game, maybe. But again, thank y'all so much. I hope so. It's time. I'd like to see him take a game over. I'd like to see him in that Kevin Elliott role, being an enforcer, physically, but also athletically, with controlled aggression. And it's okay if you get one little personal foul penalty like Kevin Elliott used to get, just to, set the tone. And then you can't blindside block people anymore, which sucks. They sissified this game so much. But, with that being said, thank you so much, of course, for tuning in and watching and everything. We got an hour till kickoff. But, again, if you're in Bragg tonight, if you see me, by all means, say what's up. Or if you see any of the other podcasters like Thing Exchange or ONG Strike Zone or, Troy or even Fangs Up podcast, by all means, say what's up to us and everything. Thank you so much, folks. Enjoy the game. Stay safe, stay blessed. We will see you maybe after the game. If not, we'll see.